It's amazing to me that with the launch of 2.0 in Honkai Star Rail, the games are at an all-time high. We're meeting all these new characters, some old familiar faces, and heading to the new area of all sorts of world building. There's a lot riding on this brand new expansion for Honkai Star Rail, and that's also including the characters that release alongside these big patches. Black Swan is our newest limited banner unit for patch 2.0, and the things this character can do actually baffles me more than anything else. But what do I mean by this? Well, I've been spending a lot of time with Black Swan and using her throughout my new story experience, as well as tackling a lot of the content we have available, such as Pure Fiction, Memory of Chaos, Simulated Universe, even just open world exploration. This character is actually ridiculously powerful, and that's why in today's video we're going to be covering why exactly Black Swan's release is going to change the future of Honkai Star Rail. Just going to do a little quick segue to ask if you can subscribe to the channel. It takes a few seconds and it means the world to me if you give me that chance. Comment down below what you most enjoyed about the 2.0 update as well. Let's get back into the video. So, I think it's a pretty strong statement to say that just one character's release could change the future of the game. And to that, I do think you're right. Why is it Black Swan of all characters? This isn't realistically just about Black Swan, but it's the capability that Hoyoverse has in creating a character's kit that's very well made. Let's just break down her kit really quickly. Black Swan can use her basic skill to trigger a wind shear dot called Arcana. Arcana is a separate entity from wind shear, so they can coexist with one another. The overall gameplay around Black Swan is triggering additional dot types such as Shock, Bleed, Burn, and Wind Shear onto the enemy to help boost her Arcana stacks up. Arcana stacks can rise in a few ways. The first one is from her basic when the enemy also has one of those 4 dot types. The second one is from her skill thanks to her A2 trace that allows her to have a chance to add it when the dot types are present. The third one is with her A4 trace at the start of the battle. There's a 65% base chance to inflict an Arcana. Additionally, every time a dot is attached to the target, there's a 65% chance to trigger an Arcana as well. And the last one is her technique, which also has a chance to inflict Arcana with a base chance of 150% and will decrease by 50% of the base chance of the previous attempt. Now, there's an interesting thing when you compare her A4 trace to her talent. They read very similarly, but are actually different. Her A4 allows for the character to trigger up to 3 stacks of Arcana from any given action before the enemy's turn. This is mainly important for dot explosions. Kafka explodes all dots on their target at the current time. This would include her Shock dot and also the Arcana dot. That means you'll have the potential to get 2 more Arcana from a 65% base chance. Wei Fin's ultimate also explodes dots, but it's just for burn, meaning you'll also be able to get a chance for an Arcana stack from that. Additionally, Sampo with his E4 can explode wind shear type dots. Arcana once again is considered a wind shear dot, so including the wind shear dots that he has himself, he can explode both of those, leading to more Arcana stacks as well. This also allows for Black Swan to have great synergy with damage over time as a whole, and this also isn't to mention that she also has a defense shred on her skill. Oh yeah, speaking of her talent, that causes at the start of the enemy's turn, when the dots do trigger, to have a chance to give an additional Arcana stack as well. Arcana at a base has 240% damage multiplier, with each Arcana stack giving 12% more to that multiplier, going up to an 840% multiplier at 50 stacks. That's a pretty big number that will probably only be attainable through Simulated Universe. At 3 stacks of Arcana, the Arcana explosion will become a blast attack and also have a chance to trigger Arcana on the adjacent enemies. At 7 stacks, well, if it wasn't broken already, you'll also be able to ignore defense by an additional 20%. The more and more you start to look at Black Swan's kit, as well as try to understand what exactly is being presented, she is a very complex character, requiring you to have a decent bit of knowledge on how the game works, as well as trying to maximize around her kit with your other characters available to try and get the most out of her kit as well. This leads me into our next section, and that's how Black Swan changes the utilization of damage over time, and how, with her introduction, not only does damage over time teams now have a fully complete roster, but it also adds new ways to play. Black Swan joins the damage over time team as the best pairing with Kafka, but the two do not need each other to play well. This is just considered to be the most optimal setup. Currently, the ideal team is Kafka, Black Swan, Ruan Mei, and a Sustainer. Preferably Huohuo is the best option we have right now for the damage over time team. Kafka's ability to explode dots, and Black Swan's ability to take advantage of Kafka's shock dot, these two can work pretty well together to be able to dish out some great damage. My Kafka's a bit special considering I do have her light cone, so I also have access to an additional shock dot, counting as a road. This leads to me being able to gain more Arcana stacks more reliably. Now, not everyone will have the luxury to be able to do that, and that's where the introduction of the triple dot team comes back into play. The triple dot team consists of Black Swan, Kafka, and any of our 4-star dot characters, as well as a Sustainer. This team allows for there to be an easier way to get even more Arcana stacks, since we'll now have 3 different dot types present on the boss. This allows for a lot more consistent gain on Arcana, while also allowing for you to get different dot types on the boss. If you're someone who also owns Black Swan's light cone, I'm jealous because this will just further increase your damage as well. In all honesty, this is probably one of the more fun ways to play her. Although it means you do potentially lose out on the Harmony support, unless you're really confident that you don't need a Sustainer, then you can opt in to bring your Ruan Mei as your 4th slot to maximize the damage gained. Triple dot as a team was something that we did consider as an option, but it was never realistically viable or that great of an option. Black Swan's introduction allows for that mentality to go away, and lets you bring a new breath of fresh air to the damage over time team playstyle as a whole. But you're probably wondering, why exactly does this benefit for the future of the game? Black Swan is a very complicated character, but she complements the style that she's built for, which is damage over time. She's helped bring damage over time to being one of the top, if not the top composition in the game right now, and it's sort of how Imbiber Lune caught the game by a storm with his release, and that sort of power was changing to our eyes. And then they just immediately followed up with Jingliu, who is actually by far one of the best and strongest characters they've ever released. This leads us to a very interesting situation for the game overall, and that is whether or not the characters that will be coming after Black Swan will have the potential to offer something similar in power, or even a new way to play the game. It's already been proven, given the little information that we do have with Sparkle, that she'll be able to do something similar by allowing for us to accumulate more than 5 skill points, something that's never really been touched as an idea, since we've always been of the mindset that we had to play around the 5. 2.0 brings us to a new stage of the game's life, and it's a very welcome change that the game does need. Honkai Star Rail needs to be willing to experiment with characters' kits and overall design, and allow for them to do more than just what's capable of happening right now. There will be characters in the future that do experiment with the idea of breaking out of the norm, and it could be potentially become one of the best things we've had in the game, or it could just be a flop. Black Swan is the first of many characters that have the creative complexity, while also adding a new level of play or interest for the game's style. If you're interested in Sparkle, Acheron, or Aventurine, I'm sure we're in for a treat with what a variety of new things to come, and hopefully they offer new gameplay types as well. Thanks for joining me on this video. Subscribe if you've enjoyed what you saw in the video, would really appreciate it. I'm trying to grow my channel and I would love to grow with you as well. Comment down below if there's anything I can improve on. I love to read all the comments and appreciate all the engaging conversations. Till next time, peace.